Arts and Adventure summits the airwaves. This is the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show. I'm R. Brandon Long with Shane Osgathorpe
at the top
here, taking.
Doesn't quite sound as good as Todd at the top.
No, Shane Osgathorpe to the top. No, that doesn't flow at all. So, sitting in for Todd to the top, Todd Oberndorfer, because Todd has the flu.
Why am I using his mic? You should have given me a clean mic. Maybe this is where he got it.
Well, there's probably flu germs on there since last Tuesday.
Oh, welcome to the show, Shane.
So, yeah, we sanitize everything in this trailer, so you know.
To the highest standards.
To the highest standards.
Spilling whiskey on the counter is not the same thing as sanitizing, dude.
No, we spritz the whiskey. No, it's spritzing. Works better. It gets more stuff.
Aren't you glad you have me on?
Oh, yes.
Get through your intro.
Yes. Shane and I are your hosts for the greatest arts and adventure podcast in all the land, and our guests this week include Amy Wicks, now with Utah Rivers Council. You may know her from a multitude of reasons here in Ogden, which we'll probably get to, but I'm glad that you're here finally working your dream job.
It is my dream job.
Yeah.
It was funny. I had a Facebook memory the other day from Dave Bastian, who used to work for Utah Rivers Council 16 years ago, saying, hey, you've recruited more people to like the Utah Rivers Facebook page than I have.
Yeah.
And it just took them 16 years to hire me.
That's what I hear. Because you're the best marketer they've got.
I guess.
Or have had for a long time. So why now? What happened? And how'd you end up there now?
Well, so...
Who retired?
Nobody retired. It's a new role.
Yeah.
And so Utah Rivers Council has been in existence for 30 years. And a lot of the work has been around rivers in Utah, conserving water. That's how I got to know them. I wanted conservation-based rates when I was on the city council.
Yeah.
I fought to get rain barrels available for Ogden city residents for a reduced price.
Yeah.
And did some of those. You know, they are a great resource for municipalities and other entities wanting to talk about water conservation. Oh. And they did like a Rip Your Strip program long before there were the state incentives to do that. So
not rip and strip.
Not rip and strip. Rip your strip. Get rid of your non-functional grass.
Yeah.
And put native or water-wise plants.
Yeah. Love that.
So Utah Rivers Council wanted to expand their reach in Utah, and they recognized that there's this often neglected part of the state, being Weber County.
Wait, what? Shane, tell me this isn't true. It's
news to me.
Yeah, news to you that we're neglected. I mean, we really are. And especially, with conservation type organizations, there's just not a whole lot going on here. So we saw an opportunity to help increase awareness of water issues in Utah. So I am the Northern Utah Programs Manager for Utah Rivers Council.
Also on the Ogden Avalanche Advisory Board, which kind of for the same reason is we've got the great Utah Avalanche that does an awesome job, but Ogden is has its own mountains and its own thing going on up here, and so we needed an avalanche group here to kind of tell us what the conditions were and teach avalanche safety education locally. And so Ogden Avalanche stepped up, and we just had our fundraiser, had a blowout fundraiser, had a good time.
It was fun.
So good. It was a fun
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was a fundraiser.
Yeah, and Shane, you were even there.
Oh, that was a blast.
We were DJing together for a minute.
Yeah. No, it was fantastic. Well, and even the Utah Avalanche forecasters will tell you that Ogden is a very unique beast. A Cottonwood Canyon forecast does not apply in any way, shape, or form to what goes on up here.
Yeah. Same with Logan. Logan's different too.
I think, a decade ago, I think a lot of backcountry skiers were depending on that just Utah Avalanche. Hey, these are the general aspects and this is the general load. But what was happening up here, they found was totally unique. You know, what happens in our canyons and in our peaks is very different than the Cottonwoods. And so it's a huge resource for our backcountry skiers. So. And
those of us who live here know that a storm can hit Powder Mountain and not Snow Basin and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And they're a valley apart, and it's wild. And so, conditions change even from one side of the valley to the other up here, which is... So before we move on, Amy, and dive deeper into Utah Rivers Council, I will say that the show is sponsored by Not this beer right here, although this looks like a pretty good beer. This is our second time drinking the Offset, but this is the Dopo Offset. Thank you to Salt and Hops. Salt and Hops located on 27th. It's Christmas time, and they are open 7 days a week. Shane, I got you the lager from Offset, which he'll dive into in just a minute. But yeah, so they have gifts for your loved ones there, and they're right off Washington Boulevard. And it is a craft beer convenience store, meaning it's not just a beer store. They have craft beers that they literally drive around Utah to pick up and bring back to, because some of these smaller breweries can't ship up to Ogden, and so they go pick up and they bring them up here so you can impress your friends this holiday season by going to Salt and Hops over there on 27th Street and buying really cool craft beers that are hard to find and hard to get in Utah. Open 7 days a week.
Oh, and they're right next to Happy Magpie, which is only open until the 21st of this month. They're closing their doors.
Oh, where's my sad?
Patrick is selling his inventory up to a new bookstore. Wow, you're like a morning DJ over there with your son.
I knew I had it, so yeah, but it is true.
So go pay Patrick a visit before he closes his doors.
While you can.
Take some books off his hands.
Yeah, he probably needs that. We also have Renee. Tell me how to say your last name.
Venegas.
16th generation silversmith.
That's right.
Been doing art for a couple of years now.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, my first ancestry coming for the fourth tree, the Christopher Columbus. He made the first coin in America, silver coin in America, when it's right now Dominican Republic. The name before the Dominican Republic was La Española, when it's right now Haiti and Dominican Republic. And he was the monk, the Dominican monk, and he made the first coin. He was very younger, but he had very hard time during the trip because most the Spanish sailors, is criminals. And obviously they saw him because he's younger and handsome. And unfortunately, the monk protected him, or the criminals don't abuse him. But he arrived safe, made the first coin, and later he moved in Mexico. And this time is the Virroyal, New Spain Virroyal country, or colony, Spanish colony. And he married with a beautiful lady, and he had 10 children. Later, he moved in my country. I am from Colombia, South America. I am from Bogota, the capital. I love the mountain, the Andes mountain, and this is the reason that I love Ogden, or Utah, because we had the beautiful Washed Mountain, the Rocky Mountain. And for me, I live here for 18 years, and I love Ogden, I love Utah. I think it's a wonderful state in the West. Obviously, I teach jewelry making in the local artisan collective here in Ogden. I teach jewelry making, and also I teach in Weber State University for 16 years, jewelry making too in the art department.
How do the students up at Weber State like the jewelry making? Oh,
it's very popular. Right now I had a full students. I had only capacity for 17. And next semester, the art department opened another second class. And my class is different. Most of my students love my class because I don't pressure too much because, it's jewelry, it's art. I told my students, don't tell me about the evaluation, only come, join. And also because I grew up in the tropical country. I love Latin music. I always put salsa, merengue, cumbia, merecumbe, cha-cha-cha, mambo. And I teach just a little with my students for Call the Eyes, And the students enjoy. And also I teach for adult community education, for adult people. And I made the same thing. They had very fun. And most of my students working in silver because silver is very nice metal. And they use the beautiful stone, and especially from here, from Utah, the Prairie Side, opals, Utah opals, yellow topaz, you can find in Cedar City. And also was different stone around the different states from Colorado, Arizona, and a special turquoise. This semester I teach Phoenician style. Every semester I change the theme. Next semester I am going to teach Egyptian.
How did you learn the different? How did you learn the different styles?
Oh, I am a member of the History Academy in Colombia. I am a lawyer, but also I have my master's degree in British and Spanish literature in Barcelona, Spain. I am a lawyer in my country.
Yeah.
So I am member also the History Academy in Latin America, the different academies, and I love the history. And I know that here in Utah, many people love the history, and we have many things in common. And I love the Utah history and the West history because it's amazing and it's similar. And
You should hear Shane's history.
oh yeah, yeah, the Wild West history.
Yeah, real West. Wow, I feel insecure now. I am not an attorney in my own. Is there anything you don't do? I mean, that is a wild resume.
Oh yeah, but the idea is well, right now I don't practice law here in USA because it's different system.
Sure.
We practice here the Commonwealth or common law, but in my country the Roman is different. But I learn more for myself. I practice law in my country. Most is criminal law and family law. But some things is similar, and especially in the criminal law. But the more important is that because I grew up, I had more opportunity for learn more, and I studied for 6 years in the law college, and later I decided my master degree in Barcelona because I wish for many years visit Europe, and I had a wonderful opportunity for had the scholarship and visit Barcelona, Valencia. And also, I had the opportunity for navigate in all Mediterranean Sea.
Wow.
And I visit different islands, Greek islands. And the food is amazing because I love the seafood.
Yeah.
I know in Utah the people don't like the seafood,
No,
but I love
well,
the
it's
seafood.
because our seafood sucks here. I mean, we're not near the ocean, and so
We got brine shrimp.
Well,
we got brine
we
shrimp.
had the Salt Lake.
You
For a
can't-
minute.
You can't eat those unless you're an eared grebe.
Oh no, I have in-laws. Well, my wife's family's from Maine, and they just take the lobster out of the ocean there, and it's fresh, and so it's seafood is good there. But in Utah, not so much.
No.
Yeah.
And also, I follow too. I like the books, Ernest Hemingway, the famous writing. And he liked visit Spain. He lived in Spain, and also in Cuba too before the revolution. And he lived in Florida. And finally, when he was elder, he lived in Montana. You know the history. He resigned. But I love his books because it's the adventures,
Yeah.
We had the special, I read the special things that he made in Spain. In Spain, they had a special party. It's called San Fermin. They bring many bulls on the street.
Amy, you know this?
Yeah.
My best friend is from Pamplona.
Yeah.
Wonderful. That's right. Pamplona.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's Basque.
Yeah, Basque. That's right. And it's a very popular party in San Fermin, and Ernest Hemingway involved in this thing. The idea they touch the horn, but you run because if you don't run, the bull attack you, and maybe you die because it's a very heavy animal.
You should go run with the bulls sometime, man.
You should. I can.
I
hook
would
you
not
up.
really?
make it.
You do a live podcast of you running with the bulls.
I could do that. Yeah, I
Yes.
can't just run. It's got to be interesting.
We
right?
could probably
So
do
we
it at the Days of 47 rodeo. We don't even have to send you to Spain. We can just put you in the arena with a bunch of bulls.
I'm down. Can you get some special longhorns or something in there? And
We'll get whatever you need.
and then I'll just have a mic, and I'll be trying. You'll be in the stands somewhere, and I'll be trying to interview you.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I like that.
Okay.
Now it's the festival of San Fermin is like huge.
Oh, yeah.
And they have, like, if you have an apartment overlooking the street where the Bulls run, you have all the friends in the world
Oh,
during
yeah.
that
Sure.
That's right.
festival, and everybody
But the streets
gathers.
that I've seen, they're packed. Like there's nowhere to go.
They're
really, right?
packed, and they have barriers set up to kind of try to protect.
Yeah, nothing can go wrong when you
spectators.
release bulls in the streets.
Well, and,
Oh my gosh.
and if it rains, those cobblestone streets get really slick.
like-
Oh, I
like
bet,
it can
yeah.
be or if the bulls leave bull shit behind.
Yeah. It's slippery. It provides a challenge. It's
Yeah.
fun that way.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
quite treacherous. But it's a big. They have a number of festivals there, but that is one of the coolest cultural things they have there.
I've always wanted to go. Yeah, you haven't been, Shane?
No,
Okay.
not me.
Maybe we need to start the tradition here in Utah.
Yeah.
And make the same
That's
thing.
what
the-
Shane's
Run it right
saying.
down
the
25th
San
Street
Fermin
and
in
Washington
Utah,
Boulevard.
in Salt
yeah.
Lake.
I mean, apparently Weber County gets left out, and
Yeah.
so like we'll make them pay attention to us now.
Well, yeah. Well, you know how they divide counties in Utah? There's 5 tiers of counties, and they invented tier 3 for Weber County. So like, oh yeah, you don't deserve all that the big top 2 counties get, or the number 1 and 2, but you also don't get the rural benefits that all the 4 and 5s get. So they like wedge us in this middle space, and you're totally right. We get totally ignored because we're.
I did
tier
not know
3.
this.
We
That
do.
we were
Yeah,
we're
There's
a middle
5
tier.
tiers of counties, and we're
Okay.
like a tier 3, right?
Yeah, well, and it's funny. Like people think, it's so far to go to Ogden.
Yeah.
Oh, we always joke when we're playing down in Salt Lake. We're like, hey man, we're up in Ogden, Utah. For some reason, it only takes 45 minutes to get from Ogden to Salt Lake, but it takes 3 hours to get from Salt Lake to Ogden. I mean, that's how they look at it, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't know why that.
they're a tier 1 county.
Still, that perception is still there, and I'm not
Yeah.
sure why. I mean,
Well, it's 100 years of reputation that you don't shake it off overnight. So
does this
it
keep you
takes
up
time.
at night, Shane?
It does. This is exactly what keeps me up at night. Yeah.
See, and I'm okay with some of it. 'Cause it's
So
like,
am I.
Yeah.
Keep all those.
Keep it
people
gritty.
down
I wanna
there.
keep it gritty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep Ogden weird.
No, but I also like it's.
Well-
I went to Detroit earlier this year, and I totally identified with the city of Detroit because it's like Detroit versus everyone, right? And it's Ogden versus everyone. It's like if you're from Ogden, you can talk all the shit you want on this town.
Yeah.
But if you're
Yeah.
not from here, don't talk. Don't look down on us. We don't need your opinion. We know
Yeah.
who we are. We're okay with it.
Yeah.
So trying to package this county in that way, it's a challenge every day. It keeps me up at night. Yeah.
So last week's podcast, I said that Ogden is a great base camp,
Yeah.
and I got a little grief for it, but
No, it's a great base.
because
Who gave you grief?
well, people don't come here to do epics because we don't have necessarily the terrain for epics here. But it's a great place to train to go do the epics. Which the closest what might be epics in maybe the Tetons or maybe Moab, but I'm thinking like big stuff in
Yeah,
the
but then you got to
outdoors.
stay in Jackson Hole or Moab.
Which
Wouldn't you rather stay in Ogden?
might as
just
well.
a down to earth, gritty, normal town where you can
so
go
I'm
get a
saying
$2
live
pint,
here,
you know?
live here, train here, and then go travel
Yeah,
to do the
absolutely,
epics.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the best. Anyway, we interrupted you.
No, don't worry. Well,
We got off track.
I had a question for you though. So it was your great grandfather that minted the first coin in the Americas?
yeah, my first ancestry coming in the 4th de Christopher Columbus. His name is Felipe in Spanish, Venegas.
So
And he stamped the first coin,
Yeah.
very rustic. It's called Macuquina, the 16th century. 15th century.
Yeah.
And obviously this collection is in the museum in Dominican Republic.
yeah.
And they had a nice statue of Christopher Columbus in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. You had the opportunity for travel. Oh, it's amazing beach, beautiful. The people is very nice.
Yeah.
The Dominican people, and obviously they like rum.
Yeah.
Sold. My
Bacardi.
favorite.
Yeah, Brandon will go now.
I recommend Bacardi rum.
Bacardi.
Sponsored by Bacardi. Make sure you reach out
God.
to Bacardi for a
If
sponsor.
I can only get them to sponsor the
No, my
podcast.
question is, so before we started, you said you have 4 brothers,
Yes,
and none of them have continued on with the silversmithing. You're the only one, and I assume you learned from your father.
That's right.
Your father probably learned from his father.
That's right.
So do you have cousins and uncles that are
Oh,
that,
yes.
that are also silversmiths? And
Yes,
you're the only one in your line though that has carried it down.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. But I had a couple cousins who working in silversmithing in Bogota, the capital. This is the Spanish tradition. During the beginning, when the Spanish people come in, they teach silversmithing. Wonderful artists, mostly Andalusia, Spain. And these guys teach how chisel and repousse and engraving and silversmithing. And obviously they had the sponsor, the Catholic Church, because in this time the Catholic Church control everything, control the power around the world, And the Catholic Church built...
I'm familiar with them
very
and their antics.
all universities in Latin America and also in Philippines too, and Puerto Rico and Cuba too. They built wonderful universities, and obviously they had another school for craftsman people, who working in wood, who working in furnitures and silversmithing. And my ancestors learned in school. My father too, he take the classes too, and he teach in his workshop and other young people or your employees. And I am born when I had 5 years old. But my father is born in 1933, and this kind of generation is very strict in your teens. He told me when I had 5 years old, son, I will teach you, but I don't like mistakes. If you make a
5 years
mistake,
old.
Wow. And obviously, my job is file the silver tin, so I not too hard a job because for 5 years it's impossible make art, but I like it, use the hammer and obviously swing the floor. My father's workshop.
Well, there must have been a gap in there because you had a law career. Or were you just the silversmith lawyer? I mean, did you take a break and then decide I'm the only one who's going to pick this up and carry it on, or what was that? What brought you out of being a lawyer back into silversmithing?
Yes, well, I studied during the night at the university, and during the day I helped my father in his workshop.
Oh, so you worked as a silversmith throughout your law career?
Yeah, all my life.
Okay.
And I helped my father grow your business. My father has right now 92 years old. He retired, and he had different houses and apartments in my country. He's okay. He had very nice life, a nice retirement.
Okay.
And
so this was a lifelong thing. You didn't stop
yes.
silversmithing. You started at 5, and you're still going.
Yes.
I assumed with the law thing and the 2 master's degrees, there might have been a slight break in there. But so you were like doing your master's thesis while you were making rings, and
yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I learned. Also, I learned because I like it always learn. I remember my father contract the gypsy guy, very weird guy. I think that his ancestors coming from Romania, but he lived for many years in my country, and he teach me how working in copper. Right now I teach special classes as the copper bowl in my store. It's very popular right now. When you have time, I enjoy on my class. It's very fun because it's use the hammer all the time, but only couple hours you have your bowl ready.
Okay.
You know what I love about Rene?
What?
His accent's so strong. People have to listen really hard to the podcast.
I love it.
Yeah, and they're gonna listen. They're gonna pick up on everything because you got to listen hard. You got to stay.
I love it.
Tuned in. So, what blows my mind is that 16th gen, but you had to teach yourself a lot, right? Like your dad could only teach you so much.
Yes, almost full time because I teach jewelry making in my store during the morning and during the evenings in the college.
But for how did you learn everything from your dad, or did you do?
No, for my dad, only that. Well, I studied too, but only 3 years in the special art school in Colombia for the Dominican monk.
Yeah.
Most in jewelry, but silversmithing, I learned all things, all techniques with my father's workshop.
Is jewelry coming back? Because we had Hard Candy? Is that the brand that's popped? And then there was a jewelry maker. But is jewelry? It feels like it's coming back, like more and more.
Having a moment.
It's having a moment right now. Yeah, yeah. What do you think?
It's all the Taylor Swift friendship bracelets.
A little more than that. But I think. Yeah. What do you think? Are you seeing it uptick or what? Or
I think in 16 years I working here. I think the people in Utah is very talented. I know people who working and jewelry, but they made an amazing job. I think the Utah, I don't know, maybe Colorado, maybe another state, but here in Utah, we have
No,
very
we're the
talented-
best. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel happy because the young people, the new generation, like it,
Good.
working and use your hands, because the technology right now absorption the people, the young generation, this generation. And I tell all my students, most students at 20 and 30 years old, between 20 and 30 years, this is the best opportunity for forget all your problems, all your stress when you're working in jewelry.
Maybe
And
that's,
this is the reason they like my class, because
Yeah.
they forget all technology.
Yeah.
yeah.
They
They're
forget
making art,
everything,
yeah.
They're
all your
using their
problems.
hands to do something else and press buttons on a phone.
Yeah, they're not looking at their screen.
Right. They're not, yep. Yeah. They're actually engaged in creating art.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, and there's something magical about seeing like a stone turn into a piece of jewelry that you then can wear
Yeah.
every day. And I buy jewelry when I travel. It's the best souvenir to take home because it's small
Yeah.
and it's something that you can wear every day that reminds you of that place.
Yeah.
You don't have to declare it in customs. You can just say you had it on when you
Yeah.
went out.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice.
And you don't need a fridge.
Yeah.
'Cause, put it on the fridge. That's where the magnets go.
So I meant to make this brilliant segue earlier when we were talking about our delicious seafood in the Great Salt Lake of brine shrimp.
Oh.
And I want to jump back to Amy really quick. I know the Rivers Council now even though the name is Rivers Council, I know you guys have a huge stake in the Great Salt Lake and in the maintenance and how that's going to go down. Tell us a little bit about what you're working on to save us all from the giant dust cloud that's going to kill us.
Well, so so if the Great Salt Lake is in peril, Utah is in peril,
Yeah.
really, because there are some very real threats. If the Great Salt Lake is allowed to dry, there are compounds in the dust. Some things we know about them, some things we don't, but we know it's really not good to breathe that dust. And if we bring the lake up to a healthy level that's healthy for brine shrimp, that's healthy for mineral extraction industry, that's good for birds, we bring it up to about 4,200 feet in elevation.
And it's where now?
It's,
Ish.
I checked it this morning and it's 41.
The problem is you have to walk all the way almost to Nevada
Yeah.
to even get to the edge of the
It's-
lake to
it's-
measure it. That's why they don't know.
It's
Yeah.
4193.
Yeah, it's low.
So, we're quite a bit below where it needs to be. And because it's so large and spread out, when it is low, that creates a lot of exposed dry lake bed. And we know that you can look to places like Owens Valley in the Eastern Sierra as
It dried up.
as a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
And Owens Lake was large enough to have steamer ships go across it in the late 1800s. They diverted
And it's gone.
They diverted one river, the
Wow.
Owens River,
Wow.
to fuel growth in Los Angeles, and it was dry in a little over a dozen years.
That'll teach you.
Well, and so what's interesting about that is about $15 or 15% of every utility bill for the water users within Los Angeles in that district goes to pay towards mitigation efforts to deal with the dust at Owens Lake.
Oh, today.
Uh-huh. Owens Lake has about 12,000 people surrounding it. It's about 1/16 to 1/17 the size of the Great Salt Lake. So it's a much smaller scale, but terribly, terribly expensive to deal with that problem.
And
there-
what's some of the toxins and is it just the dust, the groundwater? Like,
It's the dust. It's there's arsenic. There's mercury.
You've got minerals flowing from the top of the Uintas all the way into the Great Salt Lake, and
Yeah.
they all just settle right there.
And there's
regardless of what it flowed across, it's in the Great Salt Lake.
And I don't know why, but every time I use a filter in the Uintas, it clogs it because it's so filled with all the things.
So, what is the Utah Rivers Council? What are their initiatives, or what's their outreach? What are you doing in northern Utah for the lake?
A
Right now
lot
as a
of
council?
what we're doing is we recognize, in 2022 when the lake reached a record low level, that was kind of we're sounding the alarm, right?
Yeah.
We need to do something. And so the state legislature acted and devoted a lot of money to some projects to try to deliver water to the lake. I think they're falling short. And we had 2 great stellar snow years that delivered some water to the lake and that kind of helped put out that fire, but it's still smoldering.
I was out at Antelope Island this year, and it's not even an island.
It's
you can
not
walk
even
all the
an
way out to the
island.
island.
No.
It's not,
And there used to be a
Yeah.
functional marina there, and there's not. And the marina on the south end of the Great Salt Lake has been closed intermittently because of low water levels too. So, it's going to take a lot of water to bring the lake back up to.
Where's that going to come from outside of snow? I mean, how can we conserve or push the water that we're wasting now on down and get it in the lake?
So to give you an idea of how much water that really is, it's about 8.4 million acre feet, which that would be every man, woman, child, industry, agricultural use, not using a single drop of water for about 4.5 years to bring the lake up to 4,200 feet, which would be a healthy.
Let me just take one last little swig of this beer, and then we're going to turn the taps off, and then we're not going to drink for 4.5 years any water at all.
Dude, I don't know. I think I could make it, Shane. I don't
So it's not all gloom and doom, though. There are some things that can be done to fix that. We have an agricultural optimization program that is paying farmers to install this equipment that will help save water. It could be slip lining canals, it could be putting in smart sprinkler controllers, things like that. Right now, as it stands, the taxpayers of Utah pick up anywhere between 50 and 75% of the cost of that, but the water that's saved through that is not delivered to the lake. That water can go back to the farmer, and they can sell it. They can put additional water on
It's like
other
fungible
crops.
water.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically there's no guarantee that water is going into the lake. So that some changes like that, getting rid of non-functional turf. The grass we do have, watering it less. Like your expectation that your grass is going to be lush and green in the end of July and through August. Like, we live in the high desert.
Yeah, I don't like mowing the lawn anyway.
If you water it less, you don't have to water.
Yeah.
You don't have to mow as much. So
Okay, so Amy, this is a huge problem.
it is.
But the solution lies in us as people who live here.
It's all of us.
But also, how much of it is us, like what the residents, how much of it is, that we can do, like you say, with our grass and things, and how much of it is from the top down, from the state of Utah making the right decisions to enforce. I don't know what they would do to help. Like, is it a 50-50 thing, or is it like if the state does the right thing, the residents are only we're like 20% or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, how does it work?
It could be. It's a combination of all of those things. And so there are some policy things. Like, do you have secondary water, Brandon?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you know how much you pay for it a year?
No.
So you probably pay a couple $100 for endless water that's not metered, and you pay the same whether you use all the drops or not a drop at all.
I don't even know how I pay for it.
It's on your property taxes.
Oh.
Which is a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, because I see the one that comes in the every month on my bill for the other water.
Yeah,
But,
and there's this feedback cycle where
Right.
if your kids are taking long showers.
Yeah, but if I just decide to sprinkle the hell out of my yard all day, I don't know.
You don't
And I pay the
know.
same amount?
Yeah, and nobody knows because unless you're one of a small number of people with meters on their secondary system right now, you have no idea how much water you're using.
They just replaced the lid on it. I don't think they put a meter on it, though.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So that's one change. The state legislature did mandate that there are meters installed on secondary connections by 2030. Like, is that soon enough? Probably not.
When's the Olympics?
Well, and that's the question, too. Are people coming here for the Olympics going to be met with air quality like we've had recently?
Yeah.
Or are we going to...
Well, what's going to change between now and then?
Well, that's the multi-billion-dollar question,
Yeah.
I guess. Part of it is doing water rates that are conservation-based. If you conserve, you should pay less. If you use more, you should pay more. Right now, those rates are pretty flat. And so getting municipalities to adopt conservation-based water rates is a big thing. Getting communities to set better conservation goals. We are one of the highest water users in the U.S., and we're one of the driest states, and we have some of the cheapest water rates. I think there's a correlation between those.
Should it go? Yeah.
How big is the alfalfa industry in Utah?
That's a good question.
If we're allowed to get on thin ice on this,
Are we? Well, I don't know.
I just want to know.
I don't know this. Is this controversial?
I've read things that, like, even if every resident did the drastic 4.5 years of drought thing, it would put that much of a dent compared to what like big ag is using.
Oh.
Like, is it the smartest move to be growing giant, fields of alfalfa to ship overseas in a desert? Are there better places we could grow that alfalfa than in the desert? You know what I mean? And so that's one I wonder. And but then at the same time, you like the brine shrimp. I just found out this week the brine shrimp industry is like a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
And 90% of the brine shrimp in the world comes right out of that lake.
Yeah.
And so it's like, wait, it's like we're gonna.
Or is that money going back?
We'll kill a $2 billion brine shrimp industry.
Right.
That's why I wonder how big the alfalfa industry is. It's
Okay.
like what, like who are the big power players and money behind all this that's making the big decisions?
I'm not buying that much alfalfa.
Well, and the thing is, like,
I didn't mean to go all Joe Rogan on your podcast.
Is that what well, it's a good question.
And maybe it's not stopping growing alfalfa altogether, because
we still have our own livestock we
have
to feed
our own livestock, and we value those places as open space, really. So do we say you can grow 2 crops of alfalfa, but maybe we'll pay you to not grow the third? And that third crop uses a lot of water.
Right.
So there are some policy things that could be looked at.
Well, the big boogeyman that you always hear is that we're shipping most of this alfalfa to China or somewhere, right?
Or Saudi Arabia or where.
To feed, And so it's like, well, that would be an easy one to start to shut down, and you'd be in compliance with everything that current administration.
Who would argue against that?
Yeah.
Well, somebody's making money off it.
But if it saves our lake, it's like,
we got to save the lake.
So some alfalfa farmers might have to switch out. Yeah.
There's a tariff on it or something. I don't know.
That's where we're going to get them, is with the
we'll put a tariff on it, and
alfalfa tariff.
The lake. Yeah.
Save the lake with tariffs. Or, okay, so going back to Shane's original question, Amy, for the Rivers Council, how do you affect change then? Like, is this just like get the word out kind of a thing? Do you have lobbyists? Like, how does it work?
It's getting the word out. It's lobbying your elected officials to take the threat of the Great Salt Lake drying up seriously and act before it's too late. And that can be...
I have a plan.
What's your plan?
I have a plan. Well, we buy all of the officials sailboats, but they can't sail them on the lake until the lake's at a certain level.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
She didn't like it enough to write it down, I know.
No.
But it's a good idea.
That is a good idea.
Because you know where I'm going. It's like until it affects them personally.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and there's just not that much recreation on the lake or whatever.
Well, we all breathe.
Yeah.
Well, you would think, Amy. You would think. But it doesn't honestly affect their decisions until something drastic where it's like everyone's hammering on them, like 2 years ago when it was super low. And they're like, maybe we should do something. It's politically okay to do something. And then it snows a lot and then they don't care anymore.
Well, they don't. And then you have the Speaker of the House say, we're not going to consider any water-related bills in the 2025 legislative session.
That's already been decided?
Yeah. So, well...
That's what Schultz is pushing for?
That's what Schultz is pushing for and has said that. So do we tell him now is not the time to take your foot off the gas? Like, this is still a threat.
Could we drain Lake Powell?
It's already draining.
Pretty much drained itself.
It is. Yeah.
Dang it. Oh, and I honestly think a big part of it is probably understanding the waterways and how they work in Utah. It's funny to mention Lake Powell, but like that has nothing to do with the waterways that feed what the Great Basin is. Like the Great Basin is called the Great Basin for a reason. It's like any drop of that falls in here stays in here.
Stays in here. But we're shipping it out by by exporting alfalfa. You're shipping that water out of the basin.
Yeah, I lived for 1 year in Israel, and Israel had a wonderful technology for manipulate the water. The irrigation system is the best around the world. And also they help in other countries for improve how recycle the water. Because Israel is the desert.
Yeah, they're in the same geographical situation we are. They've got a basin there that goes to the Dead Sea, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
We need to learn with the Israel people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and saline lakes are drying up all over the world because of diversions, because of communities that are water hungry. And the sad thing about that is with all of the saline lakes that have faced drying up and
extinction is the word you're
it's
looking for.
basically none of them have come back from that.
Yeah.
And so
Really? None?
Yeah, none. So how are we going to be the outlier in that?
Yeah.
And the Great Salt Lake is lower.
This is a big job for you, Amy.
It is. The Great Salt Lake is lower today than it was this same day in 2021. We reached a record low in 2022.
Well, and I don't see any storms in the future. And so, not that it won't storm this winter. It will, but you're saying that that's not really the solution.
We can't
it's
count
the diversion.
we can't count on storms. We need to deal with the upstream diversions.
Yeah.
We need to quit being pigs when it comes to water consumption. We need to be more thoughtful about that. We need to not water our streets. We need to...
Okay, so how much can like local municipalities, and now Utah is what good thing about Utah is we like to have babies here. And so, lots of new housing developments and things like that. So how can you affect the rules going into new housing developments and sort of the water restrictions as far as that's concerned?
So it's a lot easier to adopt policy affecting things moving forward. So say you're building a new housing complex or new housing development. You have ordinances that require water-wise landscaping. And if you have grass, it's serving a purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not just your default landscaping option. That you actually are putting some thought into it. Like, do we really need this grass?
Because we're not going to stop growing anytime soon.
No, we're not. But the interesting thing is, all of the housing developments that are popping up in these alfalfa fields,
Maybe that's the win there.
In theory, use less water than those fields.
Yeah.
So, I think it needs to be a multi-pronged approach, and we all need to play a part in it. Contacting your elected officials and saying, I care about air quality. I care about a sustainable future. I want my kids to be able to live here. And I want to have a Great Salt Lake. I want to have... They don't recognize, like, the Great Salt Lake is important to us, but it's also important to migratory birds from all over the world. 10 million migratory birds call the Great Salt Lake home. So, and it's birds from all over South America.
Yep.
And some of them gather in the largest numbers anywhere at the Great Salt Lake. And so if we fail, we don't just fail ourselves. It's all of those other parts that are interwoven into that web.
How much of our bad air is from the lake being low?
We don't really know that. There was funding for some air monitors to be installed out by the lake, and they have not been installed yet.
We just haven't had time. I don't know what the
Looking,
You tried to get anything done?
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Government, it
This
doesn't
is
work out.
insane.
trying to find
You
locations.
think this is important?
Yeah, I mean, accessible locations. I don't know. I suspect part of it, too, is maybe they know that if they install the monitors, we'll find that we're out of compliance for clean air standards.
Well, I think the statute of limitations has expired, so I'm going to confess this. I had illegal rainwater barrels at my
What?
house. A couple of years before Amy pushed for them.
Damn it! Where do I turn you
I
in?
went out to Smith and Edwards and bought the big old blue things, couple of them, and I built illegal rain barrels. I'm like, if it falls on my roof, it's my water. I'm going to use it to water my flowers. So.
And it is now.
Yeah. Well,
And-
thank you
and
for
you
that.
can
That's what I'm
use
saying,
that.
So I was a
Yeah.
renegade back in the day,
Yeah.
but now I'm compliant. But
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Thank you for
Yeah, but I don't know why it would ever be illegal.
Well, it was a weird thing with state law. And so they had to get a change in state law so that you could collect rainwater on your property in small amounts. And you can, in even larger amounts, you just have to file with the state engineer.
I always use it as an excuse to shovel my driveway into the middle of the street and say, you all say this ain't my water. You guys can have it back.
Yeah.
Put it right back on the street where it belongs. That's just how I roll, though. I'm a renegade both
You
ways.
are a true rebel.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it gets you thinking about how much water falls and how much water you use.
Yeah.
And you think about water in a different way when you're collecting it and see, okay, this is how much water would fall on this property.
Yeah.
And this is how much water I have to use on my plants.
Yeah. I mean, everyone should have to have a cistern, and whatever you capture is what you can use to water your plants and your flowers. Everything else has to flow back down into the lake.
Those poor people in the
You know.
apartments,
Well, and it's interesting, like
condos.
some of these initiatives to conserve indoor water use actually result in less water reaching the
Yeah.
Great Salt Lake.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like
Wait
it
a
makes
minute.
sen-
What?
No, like you would think it would make sense to capture
Yeah.
all the water that fell on an empty Home Depot parking lot, right? 'Cause
Right,
that's a
right.
ton of water.
Yeah.
But it needs to flow to the lake.
Yeah,
You can't
gotta
just hold
go.
it. So you've got to like what does the actual natural flow need to be, and then how do you kind of conserve off of that
Yeah.
without impacting the actual flow that
I
needs to
think
get.
what I've learned here today is that we got to replace the alfalfa farms for some.
I'm gonna go out and gaze at the mural here in the alleyway for a while. I think of the
That's a
drying
great
up lake.
yes,
So
yes. If you haven't seen the mural down at the Monarch, come take a look. It's fantastic in the alleyway.
I don't want to be gloom and doom.
Well,
Like,
you are.
no, but
there-
someone has to start being a
no.
little gloomy and doomy. Not
there
full on,
is-
but
there is
Okay, so what's the positive side? Like, where do you see this work? It's going to be fine if we can do this, this. We're going to be all right.
we're not going to do it overnight. And to bring the lake up to a minimum healthy level, which would be about 4,200 feet. And that makes it healthy for brine shrimp. That makes it so mineral extraction industries are happy. That's good for duck
Waterfowl,
hunters.
yeah.
It's good for waterfowl. It's good for, like, that's about the minimum healthy level. It's probably something we could do in 20 years, realistically. With some common sense approaches. And a lot of these policies are not something, it's not like Utah Rivers Council just hatched these things up out of nowhere. Like, these are policies that have been proven in other states.
well, isn't Ogden City's current water infrastructure program going through the canyon to fix a line that is leaking like millions of gallons of water? Right.
Yeah.
So, like, it seems to me that makes sense. It creates jobs for the people that are fixing the water line. It saves the water, and like it accomplishes a lot of things. Does just more municipalities need to take that on?
They need to take that on, and with that, there's a commitment to deliver water to the lake. It's a small amount. You have to wonder, like, would that water be going to the lake anyway, though, if it's flowing back into the Ogden River and going
Yeah.
into the lake? It needs to be these dedicated diversions. And just like we have public land trusts, which are popular, and I think people have a lot of trust and faith in those, it would require a small change in state law to allow people to donate water to a water trust that's a nonprofit that wouldn't be whatever, up to whatever whims of the state. If the state decided they didn't want to deliver that water to the lake, they wouldn't have to. With those public land trusts, I think there's some faith that that is the mission of that organization, to hold that resource and make sure that they do with it what the intent was with that donation. If we had a small change in state law, it would allow, say, I have a friend who's part of a ditch company, and it's super wasteful and it's super leaky. and they're barely hanging on with like the money that they get to fix any things that need to be repaired. If they could buy into a pressurized water system or find some way to swap that out for a system that actually worked, that delivered water to them consistently, and then donate that water to the lake, they might consider that. But there aren't right now very good options to do that.
But no new water-related bills will be allowed.
But
on
no
the-
new
2025.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's where we are. But not to be too doomy and gloomy, but there we are.
Well, and so the way
You just
around
said if we could change some state law, and then, but there will be no water bills on the legislature this year.
But they will talk about air, I think.
Well, that's better than nothing.
And so
That's the first thing we need, right?
Oh,
We can
so-
do without water for a couple days. You can't do without air for more than a couple minutes.
Okay, so you're going to use the air as the argument.
Use the air as the argument.
Okay.
I'm down with that. I'll
Yeah.
take better air. I'm good with that.
Yeah. Renee, do you know how to argue climate
Well,
Law.
law? Yeah.
we had the same problem in my country or in Latin America because we had the Niño phenomenon. And this year, this summer was very awful in my country. Many cows and many animals died because we had the
Damn it. I didn't get that on camera.
Missed
A little.
that.
Yeah, I missed
I
that.
had a hole in my lip.
yeah,
Sorry.
that was difficult. In Brazil also, they had a little flood water and destroy all plantation, and the cows too. They suffered a lot, and in Bolivia and Argentina and all Latin American, we had this problem this year. And obviously, this is how the climate change around the world. In Spain,
The floods there were
in Valencia.
amazing. Yeah.
so we need, many people don't believe in the climate change around the world. I don't know why, but there's a lot of evidence around the world. Every days when you see the news, you see what is the problem around the world.
Yeah, you're either not old enough or you've had your eyes closed your whole life.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm 55 and I can see the change. I don't care what anyone says. I'm like, oh, it comes in 30. It's in cycles. And I'm like, no, I know what I've seen over the span of my life.
Yep.
And so either you're not old enough, or if you are my age and you still deny it, you've had your eyes
not paying
closed the entire. You've never looked at the world around you. So.
Yeah. We have the lumps around the world who control the climate around the world. One is the Amazonic jungle in Latin America. We had a big problem because many people, farmer people, start produce fire, and they had a wonderful, the millions of years tree, and it's born. And this one is a big problem. In Canada, we had a beautiful forest, and look what happened a few months ago. They had a big fire. In Siberia, in Russia, this is another lump. Also in the Pyrenees and between France and Spain, they had a wonderful forest, and all forests had problems. In Pakistan, India too. The problem is around the world, Australia too.
No.
Yeah, nobody, and also you see the news, the Antarctic and Arctic, the glacial is melting them, and the sea level also stagnated. And I think the future, I told my wife and my daughter, the future for the humanity is the water. And I think the wars start for the water.
Yeah, I heard someone once say the wars that we fight over oil are going to pale in comparison to the wars we're going to fight over water.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wait, so it's not going to be like, was that Waterworld? Was that the movie?
It's going to be the opposite. It's
the
gonna be
opposite?
more like what's the one with the Mel Gibson? The road. What's it called?
Not Road Warrior. It's, what is that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
They're all living in a desert
yeah.
scape, driving. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, so not to be doomy and gloomy.
Mad Max.
Mad Max.
That's what I was thinking of. Mad Max. It's more Mad Max
Right,
than
The
right.
saga. That's
The
right.
Yeah.
Waterworld.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what we're I mean, the Great Salt Lake is susceptible to high temperatures, which also impact the ability of brine shrimp to thrive, because with that large body of water, if they get below 40 degrees, they don't like it. They get too hot, they don't like it, and it can freeze. Even though it's very salty, it will get below 40 degrees if it gets too small. Part of what prevents it from getting too cold is the size.
Yeah.
And we know that some of the high temperatures we've had have accelerated evaporation from the lake as
It's
well.
a giant mirror. That's all it is. Yeah.
Cloud seeding. What are we doing? Over to the Great Salt Lake.
Well, we're getting deep on this podcast, man. We went way deeper than I thought we were going to go today.
Or,
man.
it's like, is there lake effect snow without a Great Salt Lake?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And so when I said drain Lake Powell, I meant that is yet another way to take away the enjoyment of people who have the means, the decision makers who have the means to go play on that lake. That water doesn't end up here. It doesn't help the Great Salt Lake at all. But it's like, what can we do to make people listen that this is a thing? Maybe it's the snow. Maybe it's like, well, we won't have as good of snowpack in the mountains.
Since only billionaires can ski now, then it's going to affect them.
Well, and I think
Sorry, that was a little sarcastic.
with what Shane does with Visit Ogden, like they're
Wait,
trying to get.
you have a job, Shane?
Shut up.
He used to work with my dad.
Yeah, I did.
Eons and eons ago.
Yeah, he signed my paycheck every week.
Yeah. Small town.
Small town.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna do, but we need to do something. But
Well, and I think that's the answer.
It's
Do
easy-
something.
yeah.
We're not going to all do everything tomorrow, but if we can all do something today, right?
Yeah.
That's probably the kind of like the little kernel
Amy's
we can
leading the
take.
charge. Well, Rivers Council.
and I also came across Visit Ogden's sustainability survey thing, and you do mention the lake in that.
Oh, yeah.
And you do recognize that is a threat to people wanting to visit our community. And I
Absolutely.
think so, maybe that's it, like if it can affect people in their pocketbooks. And I think something else is, all of these mitigation efforts, like what they have to do with Owens Lake, those cost a lot of money. Utah Rivers Council is going to be releasing a report next month that talks about the economic consequences of not getting it right, and also talks about the health consequences. So hopefully that will be something that will get elected officials to listen and act. But, I think public pressure, telling them, hey, I care about this, letting them know why you care about it, and asking them to do something to deliver tangible water, wet water to the lake.
Wet water. Wet water. Finally, because we'll close it down. Shut it down. But I remember it was about 6 years. It was before OR went to Colorado, and I was driving from Ogden to the Outdoor Retailer Show in Salt Lake, and it was apocalyptic. I mean, it was.
Oh, yeah.
The air was unreal, and I'm like, this has got to be one of the excuses they use to get the hell out of Utah and make a move to Colorado. Was like, this, we can't, the air, and so it's money too, because like you said, people don't want to come hang out in a state where you can't breathe.
Well, and what companies want to locate here? If are they going to bring? Are their employees going to want to come here if they know that there's often toxic, harmful air?
Raise kids, raise
kids here. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got to fix it. So good job, Amy.
Thank you.
I got.
You're a morning DJ.
So it isn't all doom and gloom. Like Utah Rivers Council does have a list of solutions, and if you go to
And we can find those,
utahRivers.org.
and we can volunteer,
And you can
or how can we help you?
You can
Send you money.
volunteer. You can send us money.
Okay.
We'll take volunteers. We'll take all the help you want to give us. So.
Okay. Very good. Renee, how do we find your work? Go to the collective?
Yes, and the local artisan collective, 2371 Kissel Avenue, and in the junction.
You're there 24/7.
Yes.
Okay.
And IT is every Wednesday 10 to 12, and special classes Saturday 10 to 12.
Okay.
And the class is amazing. I promise that you finish your project, and also you have the opportunity for listening to wonderful music, tropical,
Love
Latin
that
American.
part. Yeah. Yeah. Now, do people have time if they go down there this week to get something done by Christmas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I had one lady. She is the grandma, and she had the project for made bracelet with the hand spoon. Obviously, I helped her. and she had 6 daughters. And her plan is made this bracelet and put just a little heart stone. And she's the senior lady. She had 84 years old, and she take my class.
Love it.
Wow.
Love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. So we can visit you down there at the Artisan Collective anytime.
Yeah, anytime. Also, we offer different classes, not only jewelry making. We had painting. We had different artists who offer classes.
Awesome. Shane, thanks for being a wonderful co-host
Thank you,
this week. And is there anything you want to chat about as far as your day job goes?
No, I don't think so. Olympics will be here in 10 years.
We better get that leg fixed by then.
Yeah, no, believe it or not.
Are you already marketing mode
No,
for that?
we're not marketing it, but believe it, it is
Whoa.
top of mind at Visit Ogden. It's like,
Yeah.
what we have 10 years to get this right. And
Right.
so part of it's the lake, part of it is what we prepare here in town.
What's the biggest lesson from the first time that you're taking away that's like, okay, we got to fix this at least, or be better at this?
I think the big challenge we're looking at right now is tying Ogden to Snow Basin.
Yeah.
We're not positive we're going to have any curling. We're going to bring the World Curling Championships here, we believe.
Okay.
We're currently in bid for that to try to bring them here.
That was the year curling just broke out. I mean, it was awesome.
And so part of what they want is a big expansion at the ice sheet, and we're not, and the county's not sure it wants to do that. So we may not have curling here, but if we don't, our biggest single Olympic tie is going to be to Snow Basin. And so we're working on ways like how are we going to tie downtown Ogden to Snow Basin so that we can capture some of that. And that's a whole other episode we can get into it. But yeah, it's definitely top of mind for us right now, though. It sounds like it's a long ways off, but I promise you guys, as you get older, you realize it comes faster than you know it. So that's what we're worried about right now.
Can we get better music this time?
The proper way is already booked for the Olympics.
All
We're going to be
right.
playing the whole time.
Sweet.
You're going to join the band as a ukulele player at that point.
Yeah, I hear with their new uke player, it's going to be hot.
Yeah.
Oh,
She has to look at her fingers to make sure she's playing the right notes. I don't know if you want her.
well, that's good stuff. Thanks, everyone, for listening to this podcast. Thanks to Banyan One, that's his trailer right here, for powering today's episode of the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show. Listen and subscribe to Ogden Arts and Adventure on YouTube. So if you're listening to this podcast, you can see our wonderful, beautiful faces if you go to YouTube. Also, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, thebanyancollective.com. That is a website. And the Podbean app for Android and iPhones. If you want to be on the program, you have to slip into my DMs at Ogden Adventure. It's the only way I get action on the DMs, Amy. So don't make fun of me. People message me at Ogden Adventure, and you'll be considered as a guest on the Ogden Arts and Adventure. It's worked in the past, by the way, because I'm a sucker. I'm like, yeah, I don't even know you. Come on the show.
Name one.
Yeah, it totally worked. I'll tell you after the show because it's worked. I think it's worked twice, actually. If you found value in this podcast, please consider giving us every dollar you own at buymeacoffee.com/Banyan Media. That would really help us out a lot. This week's Outdoor Jukebox, I'm going to stick with the Ogden theme here. We're going to go use a little, which unfortunately the man has stopped music. So Dave Quackenbush's Guy on Polk.
He hasn't
He
stopped.
stopped music?
He hasn't stopped. He's paused. I talked to him. He's paused.
Okay, well, yeah.
Do I need to
Pause
talk
is
to
a better
him?
word. He stopped momentarily, I should say. So he put a pause, as Shane would say, on the music action for a hot minute. And when you hear this, you're gonna be like, "Why did this dude think he had to pause anything?" I don't know, but he paused. So this is as it was recorded on Van Sessions. We'll see you on the next Ogden Arts and Adventure Show.
There's a guy on Polk, always has a smoke for you, but the kind that you pack inside the reservoir. He's always high, you find him up in the sky, just like a bunch of homies that you know. Just get a mind. You could come to the right chance. Now it's whole wrapped up in the beauty of the moment. His arms Oh, you're full of love. You don't feel bad. You got a lot on display, like a bunch of dreams it's carried for so long. Still getting tired, but now more online, just like a bunch of old men getting old, just getting by. You cut so damn tight. Oh, but there's just one life if you believe it. I'll believe it. 'Cause now it's all wrapped up in the beauty of the moment. It's all power with love, and it's not afraid to show it. You got a smile on his face, happy and it knows it. Got a tooth in his pocket and another one fall out loud. But like all wrapped up in the beauty of the moment. Oh, power of love, and it's not afraid to show it. You got a smile on his face, happy and it knows it. Oh, I got a fool in his pocket and another one fall out. You're full of love.
Dave,
Thanks,
Quackenbush.
everybody. Thanks so much. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, yeah.